Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, I like giving people the opportunity to tell their story and try to help it connect with other people who might be struggling.
I
Um,
think that that's awesome. When I came into this, it was definitely for me personally turning desperation into a passion and turning back around and trying to help people that may be in the same position that I was in.
yep, that's why I started this. You know what I mean? I wanted to be able to connect with people and help people tell their stories, and
Right.
it's definitely worked. I've had some people reach out to me. At least one I can think of off the top of my head reach out to me and saying, I'm from the UK. I just watched 80 of your episodes. I'm going in detox tomorrow. Thank you. You
That's
know,
awesome.
shit like that. A couple weeks ago, because I'm in Gamblers Anonymous too. And a couple weeks ago, a random person DM me like, "Hey, I saw your post about Gamblers Anonymous. Like, my husband's having a lot of trouble. What do you recommend?" And I was like, "Go to these meetings that I go
Yeah.
to." And sure as shit, he was in those meetings. So, I like connecting with people and helping people tell their story. My favorite question to ask is, what's your sober date?
My sober date is February 9th of 2024. So I'm getting close to 9 months.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a huge
Yeah,
milestone.
it's becoming it's a hard thing to accept for myself. I mean, I'm 42 years old. I've had 25 years of actively using and an active addiction, and you know how progressive it is. So it started very innocently and led me to a life of just misery. So,
What was going on February 8th of 2024?
um, it was the end of my last run, honestly. I mean, I overdosed back in 2018. I guess let's just do a little background. I
Yeah,
have five kids.
where are you from? We'll start.
I'm
We'll go even further back, Ash. Where are you from?
right. I'm on the east coast of Central Florida. So I'm in Florida, East Coast.
Okay. And do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do. I grew up here in the same county. So spent 42 years in the county I was born in, which is kind of crazy. You don't hear a lot of people say that anymore. So, but I do. I have a lot of brothers and sisters. There's seven of us total, and I have two stepfathers. So there's a lot of step siblings in there. I only have one real brother. Everybody else is just step.
Oh, okay. Out of seven,
Yep.
is it all from your mom remarrying?
Yeah, so my mom and dad got divorced when I was like four, my biological dad, and then she then married my sister's father. So she's kind of my half sister, same mother but different father. And then I have my younger brother who was also from my biological father, and then she married into and had like he had three kids in the first for my first stepfather, and then my second stepfather has two. So there's a lot of siblings out there. I'm not close with any of them, so I guess it doesn't matter. The only one that I am close to is my biological brother. But he's up in Maine. He's not anywhere close to me. I hear that he might be coming back to Florida, but who knows? Until it happens, I don't know.
Yeah. How was that? On you getting raised by your mom and two different stepdads, and did
Man,
you
it
have
was
a,
rough.
did
No,
you
I
have
mean,
a
it was rough.
relationship with your biological dad?
No, 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 no. So from the time that he divorced my mom at four, I was 4 years old. I didn't see him again. We had no contact between the time I was four till the time I was 12. Um, Me and my brother happened to be walking around at a flea market when I was 12 years old, and my grandmother recognized my father walking through the same flea market. So we were kind of like forced into trying to have a relationship with this man that I did not know, and it just didn't work out. Me and my brother both kind of it was too far too gone. There was no need to force the relationship. We had already built a relationship with my stepfather at that point. I didn't see the need there, like honestly. And he had another family. You know what I mean? Like it just
Yeah.
we weren't a priority in his book, so why force it? It just wasn't working. So my mom stopped making us go. So I mean, I reached back out to him when I was an adult, but he was an alcoholic. He had lost his family at that point, living out of his van on the street. So I mean, I know that this disease does run thick in my family. I know there's mental health on that side as well. Like, I don't know that side of the family, so I can only go on what I've been told. Um, I don't know firsthand. I just know that there is addiction on that side, and there's definitely mental health on that side, mental illness. So, um, yeah,
And so, how was your relationship with your first stepfather?
horrible, horrible. He did some really shitty things when I was younger. Um, you know, I have a very vague memory of it, so I can't say that it was like a continuous thing. I just get little flashbacks of it, something I'm working on in therapy. Being less than a year in recovery, the therapy is huge for me right now. Like I'm uncovering things from my past that I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I put myself in a lot of pretty shitty situations that I need to now deal with for my own doing. But now digging deeper and back into my childhood and kind of addressing some of those things that I've never addressed, um, I can definitely see some of those things in my present life and how they are playing a part today, presently, because it's things from 40 years ago. I'm not dealing with these things, so they're going
Yeah.
to keep coming up.
Yeah, I actually have another podcast called The Unlicensed Therapist because
Hmm.
I'm obsessed with therapy. I think I'm like a huge advocate, a champion of it. Like I tell everybody you should be in therapy, and not because you have a
Absolutely.
problem, but I feel like everybody should be in therapy. I always say even Tony Soprano needed a therapist.
I completely
Everybody
agree.
needs a therapist. So,
Yeah, everybody needs that outlet just to be able to speak. You know what I mean? And like a judgment-free zone. And I
yeah,
know a lot of us don't speak up because we're afraid of that judgment sometimes, but to have that space and to be able to, touch base on some of these things that we don't ever talk about, because that's basically what I'm saying right now. I'm
yeah,
touching base on things that, I hid from for so long, and now I can't anymore. I'm clean.
yeah,
I can't be numb to that shit anymore, and it's all coming to the surface. And like I said, I had a therapy appointment yesterday, and I told her, I'm like, on top of just my daily life and having 5 kids, I have two that are fixing to graduate high school. I've got a 15-year-old and then a 9-year-old coming up right behind them. I have a 21-year-old who's already out of the house. On top of all the basic life chaos, and then you add in the recovery and the mental health, and it's a lot for anybody, man. So anybody that can hold it together for 272 days has my shit. Like i
yeah,
i i think that this is everybody's journey is their own, and I think that it is the bravest, most courageous thing that you can possibly do for yourself, is just to show up for yourself. And
yeah.
right now, like, I wasn't for a very long time. I wasn't showing up for myself. I wasn't showing up for my kids. It was just one bad decision after another, is really what it was.
Yeah, even my wife and I are in a couples counseling together, and it's not like we were having problems, but sometimes it's hard to just have conversations with each other because I work from home and I answer phone calls all day, and then I do these podcasts, so I talk sometimes for 13 hours straight.
Right,
And by the time, I get in bed and I put on TV, I don't have the energy to like have a conversation and
right,
talk like a deep conversation. So, we'll put on something familiar like Bob's Burgers, for example, and we'll just have that play in the background while we doom scroll and
right.
show each other funny videos. So we were like, let's do couples counseling because therapy works for us amazing. Let's
You're literally describing me and his relationship, like literally to a T. Like, I am so busy with the kids and home and running our household, and he is busy. They run their own business. He does flooring. They work their asses off. You know what I mean? So, um, we do the same thing in the evening. Both of us are exhausted. We wear ourselves so thin that we don't have anything to give back, and that sucks sometimes. But like you said, sometimes we just need that space to be able to say what we don't say.
Yep, every other Wednesday we do it at 2 o'clock. I have it. My therapy is through the state, through the county where we
Hmm.
live, so I don't I don't have a copay to do therapy. But they can only charge me once a week, so I do therapy every other week, and then we do counseling every other week.
That's
So,
awesome.
like yesterday, I had therapy. Next Wednesday, we'll have counseling, and we've been doing it. Probably we've had like 4 or 5 sessions now, and we've seen a huge like progress in like opening up with each other, eye contact, all those things that you forget about after a long day, simple things. And
And I think that when we see those things, like it just reinforces that we're doing the right thing. Like I had that a lot when I first came home from treatment this time. Like I did go back in. So let me go back to February. February, when I went back into treatment, was the end of my run. I ended up having another fucking overdose. I overdosed in 2018. And I don't know how the fuck I did it, but I was able to talk my way out of that. I didn't go to the ambulance came, but I had woken up before the ambulance got there. I didn't go to the hospital. I talked my way out of that, and then my mom and my partner took me to the hospital, and somehow I talked my way into going to like a 28-day program, which they put me in like a state-run facility for 28 days. And I ran my way through that. I'm a master manipulator at this point, bro. Like I've been in this life for so fucking long that put me in any situation and all I'm thinking about is the next time or how long do I have to fake it? So the whole 28 days that I was in there, I think I was only in there 22, but whatever. The whole time I was in there, I was thinking about using it. And I think before I even got home, I had already made the phone call. Like it was that easy. I was not ready. And then so I went on another run since 2018. And then in February, everything really started falling apart summer last year. Like my son started recognizing things and finding things in my purse. And I mean, it got really bad. I was making some really stupid, fucked up choices. And my son at 15, 16 years old, he's not stupid. He's been dealing with me his whole fucking life. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So at this point, he can read me and he knows. Well, I couldn't find what I wanted. I couldn't find what I needed. So I went to somebody I didn't know and got something that I normally don't do. And
well,
that was a big
let's
mistake.
let's backtrack again. How was your relationship with your second stepfather?
He is my father.
Okay,
Like if I was to walk down the aisle again, which I probably won't, but if I do, he will be the one to walk me down the aisle. You know,
awesome.
we didn't do the whole church and walking thing when I was married to my first husband. So he didn't get the chance to, but if I ever do it again and do it the right way this time, then, he will. And even if my biological father was still here, he would be my choice. He is my dad. He is the one that raised me. He is the one that was there for me. He is the one that to this day, I can't stand that disappointing look. When he looks at me, and every addict knows that disappointing look from
Yep.
somebody that they absolutely have the most respect for. And this is that man for me. Like, I have the utmost respect for this man who took my mom and all of us kids in and just turned our whole lives around. So to see the disappointment in his face for all these years has been really disappointing because he is that for me. He is my dad.
Now, what did you discover first, drugs or alcohol, and how old were you?
Drugs. And I was 17. um, because we had so many like step brothers and sisters. My youngest brother and sister, the ones that are younger than me, we were really close. We were the three that stuck really closer with each other. Everybody else was kind of off doing their own thing. They were older too. We were the youngest three out of everybody.
Yeah.
So we kind of stuck with each other and we started experimenting early. Shit. We Everybody was smoking weed and drinking. Drinking was never a big thing for me, but it started all with weed. Weed and maybe popping a pill every here and then.
Yeah, that's how. Well, I started at 13, and it was we. That's a lie. I started drinking at 11, and I started smoking weed at 13. I started smoking cigarettes at 13. And by the time I was is junior in high school, I was drinking all the time. I mean, school nights, weekends, I would have a bottle hidden in my bedroom and I would drink at alone. I was bullied a lot as a kid and a teenager.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger guy, so like I was an easy target for kids,
Yeah.
and I would drink that away at night. I had a rough day, so I'm going to drink about it. So I was drinking alcoholically at 12 years old. Um, but and drinking stopped working when I was 22. It
Yeah.
wasn't giving me that feeling that it used to produce, and that's when I got into opiates and pills. Um,
Well, see, I really with it was my husband. I met my husband at 18. Um, I was I was young and dumb, bro. I was working two jobs at the time. I had graduated a year early. And I was supposed to graduate in 2000, and I graduated in 1999 because I went to a private school. I got a job, and I went to private school, and I paid for the whole thing. My mom was like, I went to her my second ninth grade year. And I told her, I'm like, Mom, like, I can't do this. Like when I when I failed my first ninth grade year and I went back to ninth grade again and had homeroom with my brother, I was like freaking out, bro. Like I was like devastated. So I found this program through a private school in our area and found out that it was a little expensive, but if I got a job, I could pay for it. You know what I mean? And I went to her and I just laid it all out for her. And she was like, Ashley, if you really think you can do this, then we'll do this. But I'm not paying for it. Like, if this is something you're going to do, then you're going to pay for it yourself, and I'm going to make you pay for it. So I did, and I graduated a year early. So I did have my head on straight in my late teens until I met Jimmy. And I hate to sit here and think and feel wholeheartedly that he was my downfall because I know that I had choice, but this is where my life started to go to shit. 18 years old when I met this man who I completely thought I was head over heels in love with, moved in with him after 6 months, and just thought we were going to live happily ever after. And, within the first 6 months, we're eating beans and tripping and smoking weed every single day. He was a massive drinker, so he drank all the time. I think that that's why I don't drink because I got the worst of drinking from him. Like he was an abusive man in every sense of the word, physically, emotionally, sexually. He was just abusive, even towards his friends, the people that he loved. He was abusive towards. He had his own. And I can sit here today and say that looking back on it today, after being through everything that I've been through, I know that the man at the time did not have the capacity to love anyone because he had no idea what love even was. Like he grew up watching his father abuse his mother physically in front of him for fucking who knows how long. So he became what he knew. You know what I mean? Like that's and it sucks, but it's I sit here today and I can say that because I'm at peace with all of it. Hold on just a minute. Go. Um, I say that today because I'm at peace with it. Like um, I've gone down this road with my husband, who has now passed, by the way. I forgot to say that. Jimmy, the father of my oldest three boys, passed away in 2010. In 2009, our whole entire 12 years was a shit show. Like in and out, cops, he was arrested, domestic violence, he beat the shit out of me. I would leave, I would go back, I'd have another kid. Bam, we're split up again and I'm going off to my brother's. I mean, it was just a shit show back and forth for 12 years. In 2009, he was doctor shopping. He was like, we were up to getting, I think, like I want to say it was 10 or 12 prescriptions from doctors. He
a
was
month.
going to that many doctors. Yeah, he was going to that many doctors. It was his full time job at this point. So he was going to that many doctors, getting that, and that was our livelihood.
What was he
Um,
getting? Roxy's or Oxy's?
Roxy's. It started with Oxy's and then moved from Oxy's to Roxy's.
Yeah, Oxy. Roxy's were my thing. I discovered them in 2008, and it was off to the races. From the first time I snorted a Roxy, I knew that this is exactly what I, because like I said, drinking stopped working for me at 22 years old, and
Yeah.
I needed an outlet to fill the void, and I discovered Roxy's soon after, like a month after I stopped drinking. And well, I didn't stop drinking. It's not like I was like I'm quitting drinking. It was more like I don't
You
want to
didn't need
drink
it
it.
anymore.
I don't want to
Like I
drink
felt like I
every
didn't need nothing else. Like it was the answer for every single thing in my life. Like there was not anything that was better to
No,
me.
where
And
you?
you know, it's weird because when we started with the oxys just made me straight fucking sick. I was
Yeah,
doing them because I was doing whatever with the crowd. I was 19 years old. Who cares? However, they made me sick. I didn't like them. So it wasn't like I started going downhill until the Roxys came into play. And then it was downhill from there. And then, like I said, you know, just a shit show. After my third son was born, go. After my third son was born, he was
I'll
still
show you
going to the.
something. I'll show you something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I Snapchat. You know how Snapchat has memories.
Yeah.
This popped up in my memories today. This and you see it, and
Yep.
then all my straws that
Wow.
I had in my car, and then there was this.
Wow.
All my Snap memories. Four M30s and a big giant line, and I was reckless. And
Yes.
I was driving 2 hours. My last 2 years in addiction, I lived in Amish country in Pennsylvania, and I was driving 2 hours through Philadelphia into South Jersey where I had to connect, and I was doing that 4 to 5 times a week. And I'd buy bulk, come back to Pennsylvania, get high for a couple of days, be run out, have to
Listen, man,
come
I
back in
can't
my
tell you
car.
how many times like he was going down to South Florida and then he would move they would go from South Florida like right over the Georgia line.
Yep.
Dude, the prices were ridiculous. Like it was crazy. Like it was like I know at one point we were both arrested. Okay, so in the midst of everything, right after my 15-year-old now. So right after he was born, um I got arrested. We both got arrested. They came to my door. I'm literally sitting in the lazy boy with a baby on my boat. Literally. Cops knock on my door. They say, "Are you James Roberts?" To my husband. He says yes. And they take him out the front door. Well, I stand up and fix myself, put the baby down, and turn around and start to talk to them and figure out what is going on. And he said, "Oh, are you?" He called my name. He said, "Ashley, call my mom." And when he called my name, they were like, "Oh, you're Ashley?" And I'm like, "Yes." And that's when in my head, I'm like, "Oh my fucking God, he's about to take me too." And I have all my kids here. I was freaking out. So we got arrested and booked for trafficking in oxycodone. He had sold to an undercover police officer, and he not only did he sell to him, but he gave him his first and his last name in our vehicle, the vehicle that was registered to me. So of course that's how I became involved. Um, Charges were dropped, and his mom bonded us both out. That was in I think June. No, he was born in July, so it was in August of 2009. Not even 6 weeks later, September 2009, I went to him. I'm like, "This is done. Like, we can't do this anymore. I am done. Like, I can't take anymore, and I can't have our kids subjected to this anymore. So I'm done, and I want you to be done too." Like, I was trying to get him to see that our family was more important, that he could go back to work. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that he was hurt. He could physically work. It was just too easy for him, and he didn't see passing it up. I think that was the big problem. But I wanted him to see, look, you're fixing to lose everything. Like, I'm leaving. If you can't see what I'm saying, it's either that life or your family. And he made the wrong choice. But then I had to make the harder choice and I had to walk the fuck away, which is exactly what I did. I packed up me and my kids, I called my mom and I left. And 3 or 4 weeks later, he was arrested on battery to an elderly over the age of 65. He was arrested again. He was sitting in jail for Christmas of 2009. And after Christmas, his mom bonded about in January, right after Christmas. And February 3rd, he went back to the doctor. March 4th, he was found in his mom's house. And I got the phone call March 4th, early in the morning. And
That's the worst. That's the
I
worst
don't
phone
know
call
what
to get.
I thought. I was almost expecting it. You know what I mean? The last conversation that I had with him, which is really sucky, is because I was yelling at him. I was pissed. I knew he was going back to the doctor. All I wanted him to do was get his shit together and take care of his kids. Like, we don't have to be together. But you have 3 boys now, 3 young boys under the age of 6. Like, you have to step the fuck up at this point. Like, that's how I got with him, the last conversation I had with him. And because I was done, like, I'm done. Like, we don't even have to have contact anymore, but you have to step up for your kids, period. And the next morning I get the phone call from his sister. Like, it was a whirlwind for sure. Like,
Yeah, no,
it wasn't that I
I've
didn't
gotten that
love the
phone
man.
call. I've gotten that
Yeah,
phone
like, it was
call,
horrible.
and
I
and the
gotta
last
plug in. Hold on.
good.
No, you're good. I can still hear you. I just gotta
Okay,
plug in.
the last conversation, I was engaged, and she committed suicide
Oh
nine
man.
9 years ago, and her mom called me to tell me, what happened, and but I was kind of expecting it, and our last conversation was a fight, and what
Yep.
happened, 3 o'clock in the morning, between 3 and 5 a.m., I couldn't sleep, and I heard the song "Losing My Religion" 3 different times, and that was her favorite REM song. So I texted
Wow.
her like 5 a.m. saying, "Hey, thinking of you. Let's work this out. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to have a bad fight. Let's work this out. It's been 3 days with
Right.
no contact. Let's talk about things." And she never answered me. And hearing those songs was the sign to me that she had left, and they didn't find her until like 4 in the afternoon. Her mom, when she got home from work, she found her. And
Damn.
so I've gotten that phone call, and then I've spiraled out of control after getting that phone call. That's when my drinking picked up again. And I was drinking 7 nights a week, 5 at the bar, 2 at home. If I wasn't at the bar, I was drinking at home. It was 7 nights a week, getting drunk, doing blow, doing oxys or Roxy's.
Everything, anything and
Yeah.
everything. I was like a garbage disposal, dude. I
Yeah.
literally would, whatever, throw it at me.
Did you spiral when you got the phone call?
At first I didn't. Like, it was a shock because I was already out. I was already gone. So I was already at peace with the fact that him and I weren't going to be together. Now I have to deal with, how do I tell my 6 year old? Because at the time I had a 6 year old, a 2 year old, and a 6 week old, 6 month old. So how, what? Are you kidding? Like, I have to tell my 6 year old son he'll never see daddy again. Like, that was where I was with it. So at first I didn't. I kicked clean, dude. I stayed at my mom's house that was in September. I left in September. So I had kicked clean all the way through Christmas. I remember being on my mom's couch in November of 2009 and still sick as a fucking dog, and everybody was coming over for Thanksgiving, and I couldn't even fathom the smell of the potatoes in the fucking house. I was sick still.
Yeah.
So
No subs, just doing it straight by
no, straight cold turkey,
Yep.
nothing. Just my mom.
Yeah.
Literally, I give my mom all the mad props, dude. She was my saving grace. She was the one that God, she was the one that would strip me down and put me in the bathtub because I didn't have the ability to do it for myself. I'll never forget. No, I'll never forget the day that I walked into the bathroom and dropped the robe and got a vision of myself in the mirror and how sick I literally looked like I was already dead, bro. Like, it was bad. And I thought I was the shit, bitch. You could not tell me different. You know what I mean? Like I looked like death, runned over. It
Yep.
was bad. It was bad. I'll never get. And you know what? People say, "Oh, well, that wasn't enough to fix you." You know what I mean? Your husband passing away from this disease wasn't enough to fix you. That's crazy. Bitch, you have not been through it, first of all. Because I did do very well. Okay. So that happened in February. I left in September. So I had 6 months clean
You want to hear
when
the
I got
worst?
the
You want
news.
to hear the worst part for me was we had that last fight, and she tried giving me the ring back, and I was like, no, that's yours. This is just a fight. We're gonna get through this, and that was the end of it. And then when I opened up my dresser to get socks after she passed, I found the ring in my dresser.
Oh my God, she put it in the dresser when you weren't paying attention.
Yep.
Damn.
And when I
Damn.
found it like killed me
I bet it
because
did, bro.
she had already passed away at that point. And it was that told me it was premeditated, and
Right.
she knew what she was going to do. And
Right.
and then her parents were like, we don't want you at the funeral because this is on you, because she was bad on drinking and drugs, because you're an addict. So I wasn't at the funeral. My
Yeah,
mom
that's
went.
fucking
My
sad,
mom
man.
and sister went, but I didn't go.
See, I kind of got that right away with his mom because his mom, like I said, his mom was abused by his father for years while Jimmy was growing up, and I knew this. Shit, they were divorced and separated when I met Jimmy. When I met him, they had already separated and remarried and were off in their own lives. However, her and I never saw eye to eye because there were times that like him and I would be in the thick of it, and I would be like, "Oh my God, I need to call somebody." Who do I call? You know what I mean? He had isolated me to the point where I wasn't in contact with any of my family, not like regularly. So I call his mom. Like, who else is close enough to him that will get him to fucking stop? So I called his mom and I kind of explained to her. You know what she fucking told me? Oh, he's just drank too much. Let him sleep it off. The fuck did you just say? Like now I look back at it and be like, oh my God, she really said that to me. But at the time, I'm like, are you joking? Like, I'm calling you, asking you for help because your son is doing this or that, whatever the fuck it was at the time. And you tell me let him sleep it off, which on numerous times I would. I would literally sit in fetal position in the kitchen while he broke every dish over my back. And then he would fall asleep in the fucking lazy boy in the living room. And I would have to walk out with nothing in the middle of the fucking night. It was just, listen, for her to say some of those things, and I still to this day, I've got a lot of resentments I'm dealing with in therapy, man. I got a lot. There's a lot going on. But I mean, today I can say, look, I have left her in my life for my kids. And and as far as my husband and everything I've been through with him, I finally am to a point where I can say, you know what? I understand. I understand where he was. And I understand that he did not have the power to walk away like I did. You know what I mean? It had him worse than it had me. Okay. And I was able to walk away. He wasn't. So I understand. And I honestly am to a point now where I feel bad. Like I'm sorry that I did not recognize it, that we were just sick people and him more than I. And that I just didn't know back then. I didn't know how to get him help. It wasn't prevalent 20 years ago that you could just go to treatment and get help. It still isn't today like it should be.
Even
People are still out
therapy.
here. Right. People are still
Therapy
out
wasn't.
here not dealing
Yeah.
with things because they don't know. It's not common knowledge.
Like I look back at past JD when Colleen, took her life. Um, why didn't I get into therapy right away? Why didn't I talk to somebody? All I had was myself, and I was drowning. But therapy and mental health, especially for men, mental health wasn't talked about until maybe a year ago.
Right.
And even now it's still, there's a stigma. If you're a man, oh, you're a pussy for going to get help.
Well, and I mean, you have to look at the past too. Like, I am sitting here today, personally for myself, realizing that there is so much from my past that is playing life today in my present. So I put myself in his position back then. He was probably dealing with so much, not only the legal aspects of what we were going through and what he was doing, but also 6 months prior to his mother finding him, he also lost his father. Like right before I left, his father passed away. So it was like a lot. He was going through so fucking much back then. And it hurts me to say now that I did not see that. I didn't see it. The only thing that I saw back then was my kids. And again, from a mother's standpoint, thank God that we did not stay and my 6 year old come in to find his father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is what was the forefront of my mind, is to get my kids out of the situation because something bad is going to happen. It's going to happen. So I felt that sense of dread in life in general. So I can only imagine what he was going through at the time.
Yep.
It really it hurts my heart, seriously.
Yeah, no, I know exactly, what you mean, because I didn't understand that I was bipolar until I was diagnosed. My fiance was bipolar schizophrenic. I'm not schizophrenic, but I understand now that bipolar and how we're similar. And
Yeah.
and it's like, why didn't I recognize this 10 years ago, 11 years ago when we got together in 2012? We've been best friends since we were in like 6th grade, and we started dating in our mid 20s, and it was just, I co-signed her bullshit drinking and she co-signed my bullshit using, and it was simple as that. Like, there would be a couple nights where she was like, I don't have any liquor, can I do a 30? And I would be like, yeah, you can do a 30.
Yeah.
Or there's some nights when I was like, I don't have anything, I need to drink some of your wine, and she would have like a handle of wine.
Well, see,
And
that's just another little aspect in there of the relationship that I was hard on myself for a long time for leaving and not staying, knowing what he was doing. I feel like for a long time, because I was there, he didn't do it a lot sooner. You know what I mean?
yep.
Me holding out for as long as I did and staying under the same roof with him, I really do feel like he, you know, kept at bay what he was doing and kept it under wraps how much he was doing. And then towards the end, when I wasn't around anymore, he's saying that his mom's coming and going as he pleases. It was just all she wrote at that point. He literally went straight down the rabbit hole.
Yep. And so you had gotten sober or clean, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You had stopped doing Roxy's basically, and you were never a drinker. And that was in September of 2009. How
Mhm.
long is it before you pick up again?
He died in March 2010, so probably by my birthday. April 8th is my birthday, the very next month. I think that we had scheduled, like, I went on like a birthday trip with my brother that year to Daytona, and it was a bunch of us. I think I did some drinking, but no drugs. And when I got back from that trip, it was back down the road. I was finally, at that time, I was at the point where I was feeling like I was a little bit on my feet. We had Social Security coming in because because their father worked his ass off his entire life. Um, Even though he was only 29 years old, he was a plumber. You know what I mean? Like, he busted his ass. So, um, with the kids, we got all survivor benefits for all of us, and I ended up being able to get an apartment. So in April, I was moving out of my mom's and moving back in with just me and the three boys into an apartment, and that's what happened. That's when I went back. I like, seriously, from that was 2010. From 2010 to 2000 14 is a real blur, because in
Was it
2014 I went to prison and there was a lot in between there. but there was so many drugs in between there that I don't really remember. I ended up losing the kids. The kids went to stay with my mom. I signed a power of attorney to her. I got put on probation, and then failed the piss test for weed, and then got put on community control. And this is all basis from a possession charge. In 2011, I got caught with pills,
Were you
30s.
doctor shopping?
No, no. Actually, I was literally with a girlfriend who had just gone to the doctor and cashed her script. So we were literally leaving her house with what she owed me, and that's what I got caught with. So, if I'd have just let her hold them until we got to my house, I would have been fine because it was her prescription. But because she gave them to me at the house and I had them on my possession, I went to prison or I went to jail. So, being that it was my first ever trouble, other than what was already dropped and thrown out from the drug trafficking, the only reason I was charged in that case was because my name was on the
The car.
registration of the
Yeah.
vehicle. Right. So
Yeah.
the lawyer got that through out. So this was like my real first problem with the police. And I had like 15 pills on me and they arrested me. I went to jail. I got out and was put on probation. And like I said, I failed a drug test and then they put me on community control, which is just house arrest. And 13 months into 15 months on community control, I failed another fucking drug test, bro.
For weed.
So, yeah, for weed.
That's the
I've
worst.
always smoked weed. Like, it's my medicine. I'm sorry. You know what I
That's
mean? Like, that's just how I am.
the problem. Is like weed is such the innocent bystander, but at the same time, it stays in your system for so long that it fucks you over. You know,
I
I
know.
I have a friend that got put on probation for 5 years because he had weed shipped to him from like Seattle. And so he got put on 5 year probation. And so he couldn't smoke weed because of the drug test. So what's
Right.
he do instead of smoke weed? Does a shitload of Roxy's,
Ugh.
because they can be out of your system in 3 days,
Yep.
the half life. So instead of smoking weed, the innocent thing to do, now he's doing Roxy's every day to
Yeah.
make
Take
up for the.
something that you can get rid of sooner.
Yep. So like it's fucked. And so did you get charged with intent to distribute with 15?
No, no. They believed that it was just for personal use, which is what I told them.
I had 20 on me and they tried hitting me with intent to distribute in a school zone. And
No, I think that because they were I don't know. If they'd have found any other containers or baggies or anything like that, they might have, because he started to charge me per pill. He started to charge me 15 instead of just one charge. And then one of the officers actually came in and was like, "You can't do that no more. You just put all of them on, weigh them all, and charge her one charge for this amount." So I thought I was fixing to go down for 15 charges, but they didn't charge me per pill, just the weight of all of them, which
yeah,
is
I
kind of
got
weird. But
the cops pulled me over in the school zone and they tried charging me with intent to distribute in the school zone. And I was like, you motherfucker,
ouch.
you pulled me over in the school zone. I wasn't like standing in the school zone getting high. You know what I mean? Like you
Right,
followed me from my dealer's house and then you waited until I was in the school zone and pulled me over. Like I wasn't in a school zone buying them. I wasn't in a school
right.
zone using them either. And they tried hitting me for paraphernalia because I had straws in my car. Because I used to, like I said, I used to drive 2 hours to get them, and I would cross over from Pennsylvania to Jersey state lines, and I would be withdrawing in Philly. Like I lost my gallbladder because all the bile I threw up in addiction from hurting, and I know you'll relate to this or you'll appreciate this. I would go to McDonald's and steal their straws. I would
Oh
grab
yeah.
a handful because they had the fat straws, and while I was driving, I would bend them in half, the straw, and I would drop the Roxys in them and chew
Oh
them up,
yeah.
and then make them,
Yep.
just like one big line.
So much easier.
Yep. While I
One
was
hand
driving,
job.
I could
Yeah,
go
one
60
hand
miles
job.
per hour,
Yep.
and you know what I
That's a
mean.
one hand job. You're good.
I'm,
But I mean,
yep.
as far as I'm concerned, I like no, I used to drive some people around, but I'm not driving like that. Like, I won't do it. You're gonna have to make me well first.
Yeah, I was driving withdrawing. I would keep a barf bag in my car,
Mm.
and I wasn't like throwing up violently. It was more bile that you know how it is. Like,
Yeah, it's the sick throw up. It's that
yeah,
sick, dry heave, just the nastiness from your belly. Yeah, because
just
there's
sitting
nothing
in
else in there.
traffic. That shit sucks. Sitting in traffic in the Philly traffic, just trying to get over the bridge
Yeah.
so I can meet my dealer, and then turn back around and then go through traffic. But I didn't mind traffic high. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
traffic on the way back is all right.
Yeah, blast the music, chain smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean?
Man, I tell you, I don't miss those days though,
No,
honestly.
neither do
Like,
I.
I
I
can sit
laugh at
here
those
today and
days.
I can literally sit here and say, like, I am so glad that I don't have to feel that anymore. Like, I remember waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning
Yep,
because I can't sleep any longer and having that one plug that I could call that early in the
yep,
morning. And he would be standing in his driveway as I pulled up.
yep,
It was horrible, bro. Like,
yep.
and honestly, like, I went today and was able to pick up a title for a vehicle that we're selling and go sell the vehicle, sign the title over to the guy, collect the cash in hand, and not use. Because I'm tell you right now, Ashley 9 months ago would have taken that money straight to town. You know what I mean? Like, we'd be good for at least a couple days.
At least a couple of
Like,
days.
yeah, well, I got to be honest. My addiction got very progressive. It went from Roxy's to uh everything, like smoking crack, um IV user, like, literally, if I'm sick, just make me well.
Yeah.
Whatever's gonna make me well. I don't care what that
Were
is.
you
I just don't
banging?
want to
Were
feel
you
sick.
banging 30s or were you banging dope?
Nope. Nope, Dilaudid. So when I started using the IV, I switched. I was introduced to Dilaudid,
The
and
8 milligram
Dilaudid
ones.
to me, yeah, Dilaudid to me was like, oh my God, this is what the Roxys aren't giving me. Holy shit. But really, it was because I had been doing the Roxys for so long, they weren't getting me fucked up anymore. Really. It
Yeah,
was just to be well.
I used to do Dilaudid all the time, and that shit would fuck. But I would be sick faster afterwards, and I
Yep.
would need more. My buddy went to a shady doctor, and he was getting 180 30s a month. And then the doctor got somebody came down the doctor, and he was like, "You can't prescribe more than 120 anymore." So the doctor started prescribing 120, and to make up for that, he would give him 68 milligram Dilaudid
Dilaudid.
to go with it.
Yeah,
And this
that's
way,
crazy as fuck.
and so him and he would always owe me because I would front him all the time. So he would always owe me, and he would pay me back with Dilaudid's, and I would get fucked up. You know, like
See,
you know,
that right there is what's big here now. The 30s, and they call them blues here, but those they're very few and far between. Like, and if you're doing Dilaudid, you're shooting them. Like, there's no other way to do them. You're not getting anything off of them if you do them any other way, because I've tried. You know what I mean? So you can sit here and tell me that you're taking them and you're getting high, but you're not. Not like you are if you're shooting them. And that's really, honestly, it became the IV part of it became an addiction in itself. You know what I mean? Like, it was the process for me.
yep,
And it's really been hard for me. Like, my little makeup bags, that was like a cover for my goodie
your
bag. You
your
know what I
kit,
mean? So
yeah, your little
yeah.
kit.
So I mean, my makeup bags and everything is like a little trigger. You know what I mean? But move a muscle, change a thought, bro. It's literally that. It's simple. Like, it really is stupid simple how easy it is for me to change my mind. Like, and I've read a lot of books, and I've kind of went when I went into treatment back in February, I kind of, like, let's put it this way, when I opened up my eyes that morning back in February 9th, actually it happened on February 7th. The overdose happened on February 7th. On February 7th, I woke my son up for school, who was 8. I got him ready, and he was sitting at the table eating cereal, and I went into the laundry room, and when I came out, I fell on the kitchen floor. And when I woke up, there were cops and medics, and when I opened my eyes and looked over the bar in my kitchen, I saw my 16-year-old son's face. And it was completely drained of color. He looked white. And when I realized what had happened, and I started to come to, obviously, it was 4 shots of Narcan and like 6 minutes of CPR later. Um, when I came to immediately, I'm okay. And immediately everybody's like, no, you're fucking not. Um, but that face, that petrified look, he was fucking terrified. And that was it. That was it for me. That look on my 16-year-old son's face is what got me into treatment this time. And I sat in the hospital on the 7th of February and talked to the doctor and nurse, and they called a couple treatment centers. And this is the treatment center I went to, Recovery Unplugged in South Florida. Um, Richie Supa, one of the guys from Aerosmith originally, he's the one that runs it down there, whatever. He is, that place saved my life. Like, I truly feel like every single person on that property while I was there at the same time for a fucking reason. Like, you know how treatment works. Everybody's on a different like time frame. You know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
get there and somebody's on their way out the door because they've already been there
Exactly.
28 days and shit like that.
Exactly. So my point being that some of the people that were fixing to leave, I only knew them for like 4 or 5 days in the very, very beginning of my stay, still weigh heavily in my mind. Some of the
Yep.
things that, like, everybody was, I don't know, it was so inspiring to see so many people just completely surrender, complete and utter surrender to this disease.
And that was
Everybody was,
February of this year.
that was February of this year, yeah. And like I said, it honestly took my desperation to passion immediately. Immediately. Like, I was so enthralled in the process of these people helping me. You know what I mean? And not only just the clients, the other clients that I was in there with, but the people that work at this place. And I went to another one. So my treatment life was kind of crazy. I mean, I went for detox and residential at Recovery Unplugged. And then I thought at 35 days, I'm good. After 25 years and using 35 days, that's good. I'm good. I'm going home. Well, March 14th, I came home, and my son's birthday is on March 17th. He's a St. Patty's Day baby. And that was basically the reason why I came home. I was stressing coming home at that time because I wanted to be home for his birthday. He was turning 9. He had big plans, and I didn't want mom not to be there. So I came home. Well, I came home, and I was immediately, like within 24 hours, uncomfortable as fuck. And I couldn't fucking explain it. I couldn't explain it to myself. I was so like weirded out. Like, I missed my family. I missed my home. I missed my bed. I missed being able to eat what I want when I want, do what I want when I want. You know what I mean? I missed all that so much. So for me to get home to my safe space and feel as uncomfortable as I was like, dude, this is fucked up. And I couldn't put it to words. I could not make him understand what I was feeling because I didn't understand what I was feeling. So I called Recovery Unplugged, and they're like, girl, I'm sorry, but your bed's gone. Like, when you leave, the bed goes to somebody else. Fuck. And I explained to her what's going on, and she's like, let me get some numbers for you. We've got plenty of places down here. Let me get you some numbers. So I went to another treatment facility for PHP, and I spent 30 days there at that treatment facility. And then I came home and did virtual IOP for substance abuse, virtual IOP for mental health, both through Recovery Unplugged. I went back to Recovery Unplugged for IOP. But these people fucking saved my life. And I have two different group chats. One group chat from my recovery family at Recovery Unplugged and one group chat for my recovery family at Agape. Um, I feel like without these people, I probably would not have made it this far. Like, because I have literally
You're absolutely
wrote
right.
off everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, like nobody I know, 42 years in this county. Every single person I knew, other than the people that are under this roof, were using friends of mine. So it's another reason why I haven't gone back to work yet. Like I'm almost scared. Like I don't want to run into anybody. I don't trust myself yet. I know I'm almost 9 months clean, but still, like I don't want to subject myself to any temptation just yet. I want to make sure that I do have a good foundation for recovery underneath of me right now. Like I don't want to use, I don't want to move backwards, but I know how easily I can be manipulated by this person, that little me that sits up here telling me that I'm not good enough, that I haven't done enough, and that I'm not going to do enough. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That person will manipulate me right back into those old ways. So I don't even give them the opportunity I don't even give myself the opportunity to do that to myself, because that's what I feel like. And I've been open and honest with my partner about that. He knows that. He knows that I'm standing firm on, if I have to go back to work right now, it's going to be working from home because I can't go out there yet. You know what I mean? Like even just going to work and putting extra money in my pocket, I don't necessarily trust myself with that extra money yet. You know what I mean? Um, for so long, I was such a liar, man. Like I lied about everything, and probably wasn't getting away with it. They all probably knew I was fucking lying, but they let me. That's my problem. Is that so many people just took what I said and just let me be, and I don't want to go back to that. And I'm pretty hard to get along with in active addiction because I will fucking write you off with a quickness. Like I will pack my shit and walk the fuck away like that to go get another fix. You know what I mean? Because that's really what I'm doing it for. If I'm starting a fight, it's probably because I don't feel good. And if I don't feel good, that's what I need. And that's what I tell myself. So before I'd be quick to leave, like don't. But now I finally have learned like I don't have to be reactive to everything. I don't have to. Like it takes more from me to react to certain situations than it would if I just shut my fucking mouth and let it go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody's entitled to bad days. Like you can't really say what anybody is going through internally because you can't look at a person and know what they've been through. You just can't.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more. And you're making a ton of progress in the last 9 months. And I think it's important that you're so honest with yourself about you not being ready to go back to work yet, or you're not ready to have money in your pocket yet. And I think that tells me a lot about the therapy that you're doing, that self-awareness.
Yeah,
And
listen, I feel like self-awareness is huge, but also acceptance, like just accepting it. Like I haven't done the steps yet. My fucking perfectionism doesn't even let me have I don't even have a temporary sponsor yet, but I'm working on it. You know what I mean? Like I've got all the time in the world. But I think that for me personally, the steps are going to have a huge I am going to get huge relief from the steps. And I know that. And I want to do it right. Part of my perfectionism, and I'm working on. Um,
are you
so
going to
I've,
do NA or AA?
I haven't decided yet.
Well, I'll tell you
Listen,
this.
I go to both. I go to both.
Yeah,
So,
I'll tell
um,
you this from experience. AA, I got through the steps really fast. Like within a
that's what
month,
they
I
say.
was I was done the steps. Um, hold on, let me get it. In NA, you get a
You have a
workbook
book.
that you have to answer questions to, and it's a lot more intense. But like,
So I
I
have,
had a relapse with AA, so
oh,
you
okay.
know what I mean. So this time, I wanted to do it differently, and
Right.
I wanted it to be more intensive. So if you really want to do it like intense and just like really dive in, do NA steps. If you want to get through the steps quicker and just feel that relief, then do
That's
the
what I'm looking for. That I am looking. So I literally for the past 2 weeks in therapy, I've been saying I feel stagnant. I literally feel like I'm running in place, and not that I don't feel the growth because I do, and I'm very very grateful to be where I am today. Just to be present and to be showing up for my kids. Like this is huge for my oldest, Joshua. He is just signed a full ride scholarship to FAU to play ball. Like he's got 4 years of college paid for. No matter what fucking happens in the last bit of his season with high school, he's still in the high school. He's still got half a season to play in high school. So no matter what happens with that, he's got 4 years paid at FAU, which is fucking amazing. I'm so excited. I was able to go with him to um over the summer this summer to go on the official visits to the schools that want him. You know what I mean? There is no way in hell that I would have been able to show up for him 9 months ago. But because I am on this fucking journey, I'm able to be present in the moment. Like, honestly, I can sit here and tell you that there were times where I would be sitting at a basketball game just waiting for the time to run out so that I could go. That's horrible. I can sit here today and go to a football game on Friday and be cheering my son on and paying attention and knowing what's going on. Like not just biding my time, not just
staring
like
at
not
your
even
watch,
right. Like it's horrible.
staring
And
at your phone,
honestly,
waiting for the plug to text you back.
the guilt that comes with the decisions is tremendous. Okay. So don't get me wrong, it's not that this is a piece of cake because it's far from a piece of cake. However, I just know that the reward that I know I'm worth it now today. I know that I'm worth it, even though that little part of myself still is in there going, you ain't worth it. It's still there. I'm trying to get rid of it. Okay. But I know that today I'm worth it. And that makes a huge difference today. Truly does. And like I said before, not only the self accept or the recognition of acknowledging it, but then the self acceptance, being able to accept me right now, today, as I am for who I am. That has been amazing to me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm. Fuck this. Yeah, I can tell the progress that you made, and I'm glad that you're taking it so seriously that you're not sure which fellowship you want to really go through because you want to make sure you're right and making the right decision, and you're kind of dipping your toes into both to see
Yep.
which one fits you better. The cool thing is AA is accepting of talking about drugs down in Florida.
Yeah.
Like I lived in conservative Pennsylvania where you can't talk about drugs in AA. And that's
Right.
another reason why I'm doing NA is because my relapse had nothing to do with alcohol. I haven't had a
Right.
sip of alcohol in over 4.5 years, but my relapse was with weed and benzos. And, I was snorting Valium. I was abusing my Ativan, abusing my Valium. And, it was just, I was abusing benzos and I was smoking all day, every day. And it became a problem. So I quit both on April 1st and I haven't looked back since. But,
Awesome.
it takes what it takes. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it takes. So, but yeah, it was awesome to talk to you. And,
You too, man. Like I said, man, I think it's going through IOP. I think it's amazing to see people like show out for themselves, and that's pretty much what we're doing. Just show up for yourself, man. Participate in your fucking recovery. Get involved with things. Like meet other people. Like it doesn't have to be boring because I know a lot of people just get bored early in recovery, and they're like, "What the fuck am I doing this for?" Like you don't have to have it that way, man. Like there are things out here, and there are ways to do it, and it's not boring.
yeah, yep, awesome. Thank you again for taking the time to sit down with me, Ashley.
No problem. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too.